We've just finished up with the special town meeting. We'll move on to the rest of the agenda. We have no announcements. Under appointments, we have Owen McCullough regarding the transfer station project. And Owen has a guest this evening.
I do. I drew the duty tonight, so she's tagging along with me. Wouldn't be the first meeting she's tagged along, wouldn't it? That's Haley.
Well, we certainly welcome her here.
Thanks for coming.
She must take after her mother with her
Yes,
good looks.
she doesn't take after me. See, Haley? First, I apologize for last Tuesday because I had it written down as this Tuesday. And so I was sitting in my office and I got a phone call from Clint that said, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm at my office." And he said, "You're supposed to be here." So I apologize for that. And thank you for not putting me first tonight. When we last met, we were out at the transfer station to take a look at the situation with the grade out there. And while I was out there, Charlie Brown from my office and I were out there with Clint and Lucas. And we had a string line that we took a grade and we marked what we would like to do with the grades out there. And in order to accomplish that, one of the things, remember there's a step in the wall that comes down. And that step, the grade we want to come up to is higher than that step. So what we've talked about with Lucas is to extend the elevation of that wall. Basically, Lucas will come in and add 2 feet to that wall, about 16 to 20 feet out, so that we can run a uniform grade and push it all the way out towards that basin. Remember the catch basin that was, down through here? So what we would do is start, this is the hopper here, and this red represents where the wall would be extended 2 feet. The way that would be done is they would drill holes in the top of the wall, epoxy rebar in, form more rebar on top, so it's a continuation of the wall that continues, and then Lucas can pick the fence up and set it up on top, because remember there's a fence on top of the railing out there, and then the grade would be graded out to that flatter grade that we did with the string line on the site. On the other side, there's all sorts of room to smooth that grade out. This is on the side that goes towards the access road that goes around down below. And so we have plenty of room on that side to push that grade out. And I even think Clint's been bringing some material up and already starting to push that grade out. So what we have left to do is extend that wall so that we have something to put the soil up against that wall when we extend the grade out through there. The drainage, we're sort of at the high point anyway, so the drainage breaks and runs around down the hill on the, if I'm looking at the wall on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, it drains down to that catch basin that we put in that goes down underneath the wall. Then that would all be paved. And Lucas, if we do this, you said that you wanted to get this done pretty quickly, I think.
People like to do it whenever somebody comes up with a final decision.
We had talked about the concrete blocks or putting a steel plate up along there. We talked about that, and we think, adding the 2 feet of concrete will give you the best product looking just like the retaining wall that's out there. And that's kind of where we're at.
Go ahead, Gordon.
I would agree that I think the wall is a better idea than the plate. The bottom line is, what I'm looking at here is, who's going to pay for this addition here? I'll tell you quite up front that from my perspective, it was perhaps an engineering oversight or faux pas or something there, and I really don't think that ought to be passed on to the taxpayer of Waterboro and what they appropriated for this. Now, I don't know if there's an insurance policy or a bond issue that's involved here that maybe some revenues can come from to pay for this.
Well, we're not, the only thing we would be asking the town to consider is if we had had the wall up at that height originally, there would have been about an extra 1.5 yards concrete. We underran on the project by 15 yards of concrete on the project. So if the wall had been higher originally, the concrete itself would have been a cost that the town would have incurred anyway. So I'm only talking about that concrete, which is a few $100s for the concrete itself. And you still underrun overall with the concrete. That's all we're asking.
David?
Okay, I'd like to know why did this situation that now exists come to be? And why was this situation not brought to our attention before 2 or 3 weeks ago? I mean, everything in that transfer station is on a level basis. There are no rises, and this does not make any sense to me to have a project engineered and to come up as a final solution where you have to have an incline to make this thing work. Totally unacceptable. So my question is, why did this situation come about? And why wasn't this brought to our attention before we are where we are now?
Fair enough. The elevation of the wall and where the compactor sets is fixed because you have another wall down here that runs out at an angle and a container up here. If we had dropped the wall lower, we would have put the compactor and the container down into a pit. Okay? And that obviously has, from a design standpoint, you don't want it down in a pit where it collects snow and ice and water and everything else that you have down in there. So we held it up basically flat with the edge of the wall. There is a slight grade that pitches out. Then the wall comes up to the top of the compact. You have the compactor that you put in there, which is about 54 inches in height, plus the hopper itself. The design that Atlantic Leasing had provided originally, that actually went in with the bid, showed an 8-foot high from the slab down here to the top of the wall so that you could fit the hopper and the compactor in there and have the chute that comes down to it. This was compounded by when they backed the truck up, we thought we had about 18 inches of clearance because the very back of the truck sits up 14 to 18 inches. But when they backed the type of truck that they use, it has a belly on it that comes under like this, and that belly wouldn't allow him to back all the way up to the wall. So we brought the grade up to accommodate, and all of that happened literally within the week of when you folks were notified and we had the site walk. I think actually it first happened, we found out about it, I came to the Board of Selectmen's meeting, and then we set up a meeting to go out and look at it in the field. So it all happened very quickly once they started to use the wall, use the hopper, and back the truck up to it. That's when we discovered it.
So you're telling me because of the existing walls and the grade, that you could not have dropped that down and made it into a level as far as the top of it is concerned, with drainage or underlay or whatever, it wouldn't have worked?
No. In my opinion, no. It would have had a pit, and we just don't want to have a pit down in there.
I don't accept it, okay? It's not what we anticipated, and I think as an engineering firm, you should have picked this up and said, look, you've got an issue here, and this is what's going to happen. And I heard nothing about that until the last minute.
Other questions, comments? Fred?
My personal opinion, and I told Owen, that unit should be taken out of there to get base out, and there's plenty of chance to put drainage in there to run way down back in that pit. There's no problem with drainage as far as water or anything in there. This business of elevation like this, you're putting a bottleneck to plowing and everything in there. This hasn't even been taken into consideration how long it takes to plow all around this stuff now, and where you're going to put all your snow. And that machine, and I'll agree with Dwayne Woodsome, should have been level. That, to me, don't even look good. I sat there in my pickup yesterday morning, and I said, I couldn't believe it.
Well, my concern also is elderly people in the wintertime. I don't care how slight an incline you have, if it's slippery, you've got a dangerous situation.
So Owen, at this point, if we wanted that area to be flat, what would need to happen?
Well, you would have to, you would have to depress the whole pad down a couple of feet, down into the grade. So now it becomes a sump down in the bottom. So the water will sit in there, and I guess you could run drainage pipes and drainage all the way down into the pit, but you know, that, if that was done originally, you would have a significant cost in drainage to have done that originally. You know, if you took this out and lowered it 2 feet, what would you do with the drainage? The only option is to try to run it to an outlet. I'm very uncomfortable having that, just relying on the ground in there to infiltrate the water in, say, another dry well, because if those dry wells freeze or they get covered in ice, now you have no place for the water to go. There's no outlet from that location. It would be a very challenging thing to do, to run drainage all the way out to the back of the pit.
Gordon?
I think we're probably discussing something that's going to be a futile effort to begin with, because I think that the way that that was constructed, and I stopped down there from time to time and, you know, saw what Lucas was doing, that you would literally have to blast that out of there. I mean, he's hand-welded rebar into that cement and poured all that cement in there, that it would take a monumental amount of money. To say that we're happy with the end result, I think would probably come across pretty clearly that we're not really thrilled, you know, with the outcome. But at this point, I'm not so sure that we could correct what's been done down below, but we can certainly take measures on what we have at the top to try to make that as safe and as easy for people, including, you know, elderly people and so forth, to get up to there and dispose of that. But I still don't think that the taxpayer should be required to fund that.
I think my concern is that we've got the ramp the way that it is, and what we've done is we've made a ramp and set the thing up to accommodate whatever truck happens to back a silver bullet up there. My mind is, you know, we never intended for that to happen, right? So we're gonna bastardize this thing and put a ramp on there. We've got it 6, 7, 8 inches higher than what it needs to be, just because we're gonna accommodate one of the roll-off trucks backing up to that thing to dump a silver bullet. And in my mind, if that's what's driving that thing, then we need to come up with a different way to handle how we're gonna handle silver bullets. Put the silver bullets in the other, or put the recyclables in the other compactor. You know, I mean, what we're doing here is we're bastardizing this whole thing and the whole concept to accommodate dumping a silver bullet in there. And what we originally started with was, how do we make this more convenient for Joe Citizen, or Jane Citizen, right? So we got this big old ramp now because we're gonna back a truck up there. We're gonna back a truck up there once or twice a week, maybe? I don't know. So I think instead of raising the roof and, raising everything up, I understand that we still have the problem because it has to come up some anyway, but it's not gonna be hiked up in the air like that if we just accommodate and we don't worry about how a truck backs into it. I mean, we've literally built the thing so that we can back a roll-off up to it. I don't think that was ever an intent of the committee when we talked about it.
Well, in your suggestion, you're saying to make the new compactor a household waste?
Right.
And put the household waste into a recycler?
Yep.
Now, would the new compactor accommodate any other trucks that need to dump in?
The new compactor now?
Yeah. We have trucks backing up to the household waste now, right?
Yeah, but it
Okay.
It doesn't matter if a truck backs in when it's flat or if it's raised. The idea is the people walking up there.
I
Like
know,
you
I'm
said.
saying, can the trucks that back into the household waste compactor now back up to that
Yes, they can.
new compactor
Yes.
with no rise?
That's right.
They can. No problem.
The-
No rise, he's saying.
No, it can't.
Well,
If you make that down so it's flat, you've got a 2-foot wall there. You can only have a 10-inch wall.
Okay, so the new
So the grade could
compactor,
come, the grade could be within 10 inches of the dock.
Yes, that's what we
Right
got.
now, we're about 6 inches or 4 inches.
4
from the
inches,
top.
yeah. About 4 inches
Well,
right now.
that's, what I did is I tried to fill it in so to see what it was, when it was finished, what it was gonna look like. Basically, what you got there now is what it's gonna look like. It's not gonna change. I mean, they're gonna have to take probably 2 or 3 inches out of there to put the hot top in. You see what I mean?
all right, so if we change the new compactor, which is recycling,
Yeah.
into a household waste, we still have the same problem as far as.
No
truck-
matter where you go, you're gonna have the same problem.
You're right.
And you're gonna have a worse problem over there, because you got more people would be going to that.
So what other solution is there if we want to flatten that back out how we originally intended it to be designed for the citizens? What other accommodations can we make for trucks that are coming in to dump recyclables or household waste?
There's no problem with trucks. That, right there, the way it is now, Dean is backed up there, I think 3 times now, 2 or 3 times.
But we're not happy with it the way it is.
I know that.
So if we are looking at bringing this back to the original design so that that's flat and the board is happy that we're better serving the citizen, what accommodations can you make for truck traffic?
Well, you're gonna have to cut 2 feet off the top of that wall. Or you're gonna have to take it all apart and.
Well,
sit
you don't
everything
dump a
down.
truck there, Clint.
What?
You don't dump a truck there. We come up with some other solution to transfer in the silver bullet
But-
stuff into that hopper.
Yeah, you could do that if you wanna dig it down and lower
I'm
the
not talking
fence.
about digging it down. I'm talking about dumping the silver bullet somewhere else.
What,
And
but what's the problem with dumping it there now?
only other than the fact that we've got a high rise that we're,
Well, you're gonna have that anyway, because what about the people that have to walk up there?
what I'm saying is take it down to
Lower
a
the
flatter
Yeah,
situation
you can do that.
without regard for backing a roll up there.
If we left
Okay.
like 12 inches, the concrete was up, and you left the grade down 12 inches below the top of the concrete, people would walk up and throw their...
Make a big
computers
difference in the amount of slope if you take that down to 12 inches below the top of that.
It's still gonna be a foot higher than.
Understand, but it's easier to get that flatter, right,
Yeah,
than making it another 8 inches, 10 inches higher.
so you have to cut the gates, the posts, the fence, down to manageable height.
Okay, I mean, it's another solution to, and the only reason that we've got this humped up here now, like a camel's back, right, is to accommodate a roll-off truck. End of story. That's the only reason that it has to be that high.
I believe it's the compactor truck, not the roll-off. The ones with the compactor in the back, pickup, and Dean does
How
household.
would you empty the silver bullet? You empty the silver
The
bullet?
roll-off's not the issue, it's the back.
Well, then if the roll-off's not the issue, then I'm not worried about it.
It's not a roll-off, it's
Then
the actual
we
garbage truck.
deal with any compactor that comes in with recycled
Well-
waste differently.
Originally, what we were, the committee talked about, is all these silver bullets around town, everything would be dumped in there, Dean's trucks, whatever. If we ever had a truck, we could dump in.
All right, so answer this question, because I think he just hit on something. And I just want a yes or no, Clint, all right? Do we have a problem lowering that thing and then dumping silver bullets in there?
Can't dump them in there. As long as that wall is there, you cannot dump it if you lower it down. What it is right now is what you have to have for a roll-off truck or a
Or a
compactor.
compactor.
Right.
So you're saying that those are equal, and I think what Lucas just said is that the compactor trucks are the ones driving the height requirement.
Yes.
So let's answer that question.
Well, no, when Dean comes in there, he would have to go right up against that. He would just make it to dump a roll-off truck in there. Just make it.
As
With
is
it
right now.
With it is
The
now.
way it's filled in now, he would just make it. I mean, it's gonna be very close.
How does a roll-off container dump into that? Is it backing up? I'm sorry, the silver bullet, because when the silver bullet backs up, you have all the slots on the sides. Is it zero sort? And they all,
There's a big
Yeah,
door in
no
the back,
sorts.
so just open the big door and back
Single
out.
sort.
Like I said, I don't believe it's the actual roll-off truck that's the problem, it's the compactor.
because the roll-off truck sits up, the
Yeah, I don't think the roll-off.
roll-off
have a
truck sits
problem
up
with
like
10
this.
inches.
We need
Yeah,
an
but when
answer.
not when they dump it. When they dump it, that, you've seen them, David, that roller that he has on the ground, that thing has to be right level. And I'm, 6 inches is just gonna make it.
Well, perhaps we need to go down there with each truck, all right, and look at it. But regardless, I am not happy with the engineering work. I'm not happy the way this thing has ended up. My number one concern is the citizen, not truckers. Another concern I have is that Lucas Ironman business is not stuck with any cost here. And, if it costs the engineering firm, fine, and I will certainly scrutinize any further business that we have to contract out after this situation. We've got a number of issues in this town that we've tried to do, this building for one, the fire department for another. I don't know why the town of Waterboro cannot have something designed and built and be functional. There are issues come up repeatedly that cost the taxpayers money. It's gonna have to stop somewhere, and I'll fight like hell to make it stop right now.
So Lucas, I know Clint's been hauling some stuff up there, but how far out do we have to come to make that reasonably blend in with, and Fred brings up a good point, it's gotta be plowed, right? So we've gotta have at least the transitions to a point where we can travel, so we can plow them. And if we can't get the transitions to where we can plow it, then put the damn thing down to where we need it, and forget about the trucks dumping in there. I think that's a decision that we have to make. We'll have to accommodate the trucks some other way.
And is there a possibility, I know, may need some engineering there, of coming up with a portable ramp that could be transferred in just for that truck to dump and take up? I can't see a person picking up a wooden ramp, but somehow some sort of system of some sort of portable ramping system.
The only thing you could do that way
Yeah, you
would
put
be
a
mechanical, boy,
hydraulic
would that be
lift.
expensive.
Yeah, that's certainly substantially more money. But I
Take
think
into
you're,
consideration, when this is paid, this is done, paid, one thing you gotta look at, where's your water gonna go? You've got one catch basin between them buildings. And when this is paid, that's gonna have to be, whoever pays it, should be very careful, to make sure that, because all that water's going to that area right there. If you don't, you're gonna have a nice buildup in the wintertime there, and not good.
So I think the consensus of the board is we want to go back to the original design as much as we possibly can, and maybe find another way to accommodate the trucks, because we're concerned about the citizens.
No additional cost.
if we go back to the original design, dropping it down, we may not have to do the wall extension at all, or raise the wall.
I think it would be nice to know what that is.
How far is the lift gonna be from somebody standing? Are they gonna have to be up over their head to dump it in?
Well, no, if the curb, if, let's say for a moment that the goal was to allow it for residents to dump in, okay? We could lower that wall down as much as, you could put the grade down probably as much as 18 inches below the top of wall up there, and almost makes it pretty much dead flat across there, okay? So now you got this concrete up 18 inches, and we would have to modify just the gate itself so that it's got to be at least 42 inches. That's a code requirement. There's nothing I can do about that. But, you know, it would have to at least be 42 inches high up
Does
off
it
the
have to be
ground.
42 on top of the wall or from the ground?
It has to be a 42-inch barrier. I'll double check that. I need to verify that.
Because
If the wall.
Lucas
if
is
the
saying
wall-
from the barrier.
Well,
From the wall.
due to the width of the wall, and it's a stepping wall,
yeah, but it's not,
according,
an 18 inch is not a real stepping wall though, right?
I don't know enough to argue, but I'm just saying.
I mean,
you
right
wanna
now,
be
we get a
careful.
cable stretched across the other one that happens to be 42, or a couple of gates that swing closed. So,
Yeah, those gates down there meet OSHA standards.
I understand.
You cut that gate off and you have that where people can step up on. You
So,
gotta,
so maybe it's
from the top
just,
of that wall, you gotta have 42
so maybe
inches.
it's just
So it'd
putting,
have to be
maybe it's
close to
just
the wall.
putting a guard or something that doesn't allow them to step up on that wall. You can put something on that wall so that they can't step on it.
You're gonna have
What's the impact gonna be to a person that, let's say, 5'5", walking up to that with a trash can? Are they gonna be standing there with this can up over their head to try to dump it in?
With 18 inches showing a wall, they'll have 60 inches of height to reach up.
I think there's a way around that.
5 feet?
And meet,
That's the way it stands.
and meet OSHA.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we need to do.
Yeah, I'll take a look.
Right. And then I
That's
think we
gonna
make a
be,
decision. Do we make this thing as flat as possible, the way that we originally intended it? And we'll have to manage handling trucks with recyclables some other way. Or do we say, let's build a damn ramp and all of the issues with it? We gotta extend the wall, we gotta blend everything so that it's plowable. Everything's gotta be sloped, this thing's gonna go all the way back over to the oil shed if you wanna blend it. So,
I think you hit upon something to have them dump in that other building down there with a cement floor and have the tractor.
That's what we're doing now, but the idea behind having the trucks dump in there was to save the loaders, being able to compact more.
well, we're not saying you
That-
can't put it in the compactor, it's still to compact it. And I understand that
Take the
that's an
tractors
issue,
out.
but maybe there's a way that we can come up with something that can dump into that hopper.
Is there any, there probably isn't, but is there a way that we could somehow have two access points where one is for the residents and then a second access point that would be for trucks?
The wall it's set up as a front loading hopper. So there's only one location to load from, which is from the front of the hopper. Trying to think where else we could.
If there were a walkway, person to that they could walk up to and dump in.
It'd have to be on the, whatever side it is where the road is,
Yeah.
going out back.
Yeah, there's a gap because it was never contemplated to have it dual-sided that, and in order to try to save some cost with the concrete, that wall slopes down following the edge of the natural grade, and we stop the back of the compactor. It's out from the wall a little bit because there's a walking space behind the compactor in there, so it's not really set up to do that.
Is there a way to set it up though?
I'd have
That
to
would
look.
be more,
That's not something I hadn't thought about.
I mean, that would be more effective than. Clint, could you come up with some other
I have-
scenarios on how to get trucks to dump? Think about it over the course of the next week to accommodate the trucks as if we brought this back down to the original design?
What I can do is I'll ask Dean to come down, because he's been down there 2, 3 times, and, you know, has told us exactly what we had to have. He's even brought his trucks down twice and backed up there to see if everything was gonna work.
Is his the only truck that affects?
Well, no. Well, yes, it is. It is.
He's the only one dumping in there with a compactor, and then we contract with him to dump the roll-offs.
But the idea behind it was, what we tried to plan was, in the future, you know, who do we know that, what town might wanna dump there? We don't know what we're gonna do. We might have our own trucks, whatever, and everything would be dumped in there. We could have more silver bullets, everything would be dumped in there. It would compact it into, you know, big heavy loads.
Well, that's the intent,
That
right?
was the intent.
That's why we went out and bought the thing, and then ultimately it pays for itself over the course of the next 4 or 5 years, but.
I just wish somebody would cut that tire out all the way around, about 10 feet, 12 feet out, cut the tire out, and fill that in and see what it's gonna look like. And see if that's gonna take some of that, it's gonna take some of that height out of that. If you noticed, I filled in the other side.
Not gonna
so
take a lot of height out of it.
Yeah, but it's gonna make it a lot.
Well, I understand that some guy that is gonna pave it is gonna blend the thing, but we need
Yeah.
to make sure that it gets blended. And I think it's more than 10 or 12 feet into that other piece.
See, that's what I'm saying, I don't know. We took a string the last time we were down there, with Owens, and we pulled it out across there, and that's what we said, maybe 10 or 12 feet. Would make that, what did you say? You said it would make it come and do Charlie's standards of sidewalk, something.
Pretty close to, well, sidewalks are 5, this, you know, basically a 5% grade.
Yeah.
So gentlemen, I think we're back to the drawing board.
Okay. So,
I think we get two, really, you know, we're down to two options. We either put it down to where we originally talked about. We have some issues with gate height, okay? I think we can get around that. I've seen step-ups with, you know, metal things so that people can't step on the thing, and that should constitute the fact that it's not a step-up. So we got 42 inches anyway, right? We're gonna have to live with that, whether we're standing, wherever we're standing, right? And the other option is, okay, we're gonna build this so that the trucks can dump, and let's haul in 1,000 yards of gravel and flatten it. Or whatever it takes. I think those are the only two options. And if we flatten it out, you're gonna have to extend that wall.
So when can you come back with some different scenario?
I'm just thinking my way.
The flattened out scenario, Clint, we need to meet with Dean or whomever and say, is there another way that we get non-compacted recyclables into that compactor? It's not gonna put a burden on, it's not gonna offset the amount of money we're saving per load. Right? I mean, that's really the option.
Because the flattened out, we're calling it the flattened out scenario, I mean, the only thing I really need to look at is what we can do for that 42-inch height. That's really about it on that. We go back to a lower finished grade out there. The second option is to basically go as the direction we were going with extending the wall out so we can blend that grade out. And that goes back to when we were out in this building. We pulled the string line out, we walked around and showed you what the grade would look out. It's a bit deceiving because when we first were out there, I mean, it's really humped up there. And when we took the string line and stretched it out, I mean, there was areas where, you know, we were gonna put this much more gravel down to put the transition out. And I mean, is it pretty well transitioned out right now?
No, it has to be, the tire has to be taken out, And I didn't
No.
dare to put that gravel out onto the tar, afraid somebody would run into it, you know?
So,
Can
so
we set
Clint,
like a
let's-
maximum acceptable grade?
I
So
mean,
that
I
you
think
know
that's
it-
what you're
you know,
saying,
Is
is we
it
get down
1%, is it 2%? What is a maximum
I mean, I would,
acceptable grade?
I mean, for something, an approach up there, you know, in the range of 6% is probably adequate.
Well, you know, I look at 6% on the treadmill, and if you put ice on that, I wouldn't want to walk it. And it got 1 or 2% maybe, but 6% would be treacherous on with ice.
I don't know you'll ever get down to 1 to 2%.
We can talk about this all day, you can slip on a flat surface. I mean,
I think-
if it's icy.
But I mean, if you
Yeah.
picture
Somehow-
yourself
somehow you
with 30 pounds of waste
If we're gonna make a
going up a
rational
6%
decision, I
rating
think
ice.
you gotta put, you gotta grade that off the best that you can of the way that it's gonna be, without cutting the surface yet, okay?
Let us get a true
And
visual.
get a
of what
real
it's-
good visual of where we're gonna be.
Well, I was just, Lucas and I were just thinking out loud back here a little bit. But if you took everything and moved it down 20 feet, you'd have the height that you want because of the jog in the wall.
Took what down 20 feet?
You'd have to move the machine, everything would have to be moved 20 feet.
Oh, so
That I
shift
don't-
it sideways?
Yeah.
I don't think that's enough. See,
Well, that gives you the height that you're saying you want now.
Yeah, but how does that work with the, I mean, when Atlantic Leasing set up the design, they said we needed to have 8 feet from the concrete slab elevation to the top of the wall. And that accommodates the hopper, which is like 54 inches off, the compactor, which is like 54 inches off the ground, and then the hopper itself, the chute that sets on top of it.
I think you got a monument there now, and I don't see moving the monument.
Not the way he welded that in.
Dwayne?
I've heard several ways of fixing it, and Lucas done a hell of a job with concrete, but I haven't heard anybody give a figure to what it's gonna cost to cut the 12 or 18 inches right off the top of that wall,
I don't-
and put another finish on the top of it to make it look decent. Now, in my mind, the only way you're gonna put a finish on top of that is run some type of a piece of steel on top of this beautiful looking wall that he's got there.
I don't think anybody suggested cutting the wall. I mean, I think the thing that has to come down is the gate, the height of the gate if we drop down. But what we need to prevent is a step up onto that wall from an OSHA perspective, and
But
I
he
think,
he could do that with just a piece of steel well above
Right.
the gate, just an angle so people can't put their foot up there.
right, so I don't, I mean, that's the,
I think we need to meet down there again. It stays laid out now till about 7. Sometime next week,
No, I'm not gonna be here, but,
week
and
after.
I would like to be here.
You can be here the
well,
week.
I think we need to do it sooner than later, is there
Yeah.
a way that we can do it this week?
The snow will fly again if we keep.
Over the weekend, on Saturday, or
You do it first thing Saturday morning again if you want.
Laugh, they're threatening snow for Saturday.
Okay, I'm gonna be leaving here on the 15th, and won't be back to the 22nd.
So, do we want to do Thursday evening?
Tomorrow night?
Thursday or tomorrow night, I'm okay, either one's fine with me.
Tomorrow night's gonna be raining.
unfortunately, I'm not here on Thursday.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be raining, but it's supposed to be tomorrow.
that'd be
We can look
Wednesday.
at it while it's raining, we were looking at it when it was snowing the last time, so.
Either that, or we wait until, you said you're back on the
22nd.
22nd, we do it on the 23rd, on that Saturday.
That would give Clint time or whatever to think.
Yes,
Do you want me, before you get there, do you want me to put some gravel there to show you what it would look like if you take the
well,
tire
I think any of that would help.
Yeah.
out? Just put some cones around it or something, put a couple blocks out there.
Owens, that work for you, the 23rd?
What's the difference if you have gravel there, Clint, and you don't want people to drive on it, and then you,
Well, I mean, but you don't see what I mean, if you try driving on that when it's on the tire, you know, it it doesn't get,
It doesn't like to
back
harden
down.
up at all.
It
I
doesn't
know,
back down
all
at
right,
all.
but what the hell's the difference in having a hard top ramp where people are gonna shoot off like Back to the Future or something?
All right, so the 23rd, 8 AM?
8 a.m. it is.
23rd, we'll meet in the town square down there and wait for the clock to,
8 AM.
Bring Charlie, he hasn't been on.
And Charlie's supplying the donuts and coffee.
Is Sean still with you guys? Yeah. Bring him too.
Okay.
All right, so the 23rd at 8 AM down at the transfer station. Okay,
I will be,
all right. Very good, thank you.
thank you. All right.
Thanks. All right, next up, Clint and Lucas regarding the meeting with Atlantic Recycling. You're up. Boy, that's a look of terror, Lucas.
What do you want to say?
We did get an email from Clint about the meeting, and we wanted you to update us in person yourself.
Okay.
And then if we had any questions, we could direct the questions. I think David had some questions.
Well, we met down there, 2 weeks ago tomorrow? And Lucas and I and Jim O'Regan from Atlantic Recycling. And he went over the whole thing, and he said it, the only way to fix the problems we've got down there would be to cut, move, and all this and that. He said he would just leave it alone. And what they used to do with a ram on the front of these compactors, if they didn't pack right, they put like a bulldozer blade. It has a little piece that comes out. It's like 10 or 12 inches at an angle, and that will actually go in there and actually make everything turn like it's supposed to. The way these work, when that ram goes in there, they're supposed to be at an angle, so that it makes the trash go up and keep doing this, and it packs in. That's how you get your compaction, not just pushing. And he said that down there very easily. He wouldn't tear it apart. The only thing they would do is add that piece on the front of the ram, and he explained to Lucas how it had to be done. And he said that's a very simple fix. And everything else seems to be very well done. Roof, everything.
So this extension on the ram is a result of having to add an extension onto the compactor that will fit the container, right?
Yeah, because the problem is, when this was laid out and designed, when Dean or anybody hooks on and picks up, the container goes like this, and it hits the roof. And you can't back up now because there's not enough space. So Lucas added on to the end of the compactor tube or the ram, whatever you want to call it, the guide. And that won't allow the ram to come far enough forward.
So what you're gonna do is put basically an extension on the ram that will act
That's
like a
right.
bulldozer blade. It's gonna
That's right.
force.
What that does, it makes the trash do this curling action that they get out of it. Other than that, he looked everything over on the roof. He said, it's a shame the only other way to fix it is to take the roof off and add extension legs on it that would be at least 16 inches high. And I mean, it's just a shame because everything works so easy down there and so well.
So you're saying,
He said that's the cheapest way out for
all right,
everyone.
you're saying to us that this gentleman from Atlantic Recycling is telling you, and you're telling us, that this extension is gonna work.
Right. Am I right? That's what he told me.
Basically, what it amounts to, the original compactor that was spec'd had a 14-inch nose cone figured into it to accommodate for the roof. The one that you bought had a 5-inch nose, so that's where we lost our 10 inches in there, and that's what makes the can hit the roof. I put an extension on it. Basically, what it amounts to, we're gonna extend the ram, and that extra 10 inches will go right back to doing what it was doing before. So, that's basically it all come down to a nose cone that wasn't figured in on the other compactor.
see, what it should have been done when it was designed, it should have been, that roof should have been at least 16 inches higher. And none of this would have happened. But it means he's got all this work done. It's a simple fix, I think.
I don't have
And
any-
our big compactor down there does have this sloping piece on the front. Looks like a bulldozer.
How does all this cluster that we have come to here come about?
You want me to be honest?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not asking for a fairy tale.
Well, the day before, the day that you were pouring, right, I had, well, the engineer and I said, what is that thing on the top? And he brought me up and he said it had to be here because of this and that.
This engineer is from Atlantic or
I
Sebago?
don't know, no,
Sebago Technic.
Owens.
All right. And what did he say?
And he explained to me how it had to be done so that it would all fit. I mean, even Lucas and I talked about taking that drainage container, what do we call it? What is it? Catch basin down there, or putting a metal cover on it so the water could actually run out of that thing. We could have dropped that down at least another 1.5 feet. No trouble at all.
So where the hell were you 5 minutes ago when we were talking about this?
What are you gonna do? Because it's all poured.
I know, but you know, I just have no credibility from these people when I ask the question, how did this come about? And I get no answer. What are the suggestions we could do to make this originally?
Yeah.
Now, how could it's been done right? This is not acceptable. It is not acceptable.
Hey, can I say something?
Sure, Bob.
Sure. Why are the 5 of you breaking your head? When you hired an engineer to do it, why don't you tell him to fix it, and that's it? You guys should just keep out of it. The engineer's the one who should fix it, not you
Because
guys.
he's not owning up to it.
Well, you haven't paid him, have you?
I hope not.
I think you paid every penny so far.
No. They won't be getting any more.
Now, I've read that if there's any repairs that need to be done, there's gonna have to be a plate cut, and then welded back so that everything can be reached, correct?
Yeah.
Is that going to create any issues with the structure over a long term?
I don't think so. I asked him, the engineer from, I guess he's an engineer from Line Police, and he said he'd done this so many times before. Sometimes they put a brand new compactor in, if the face is straight up and down, he said, we've had to go back and put those on and make sure that has to go inside of that box, push all the trash in. If you don't, when you pull it away, everything falls out.
Sounds to me like there's a little bit of an issue with the design of compactors, the consistency of them, but that's just my.
So basically, we've compounded the issue by having 2 engineers instead of 1. Because it looks like if the roof is gonna be up there on stilts, this is gonna look like a pagoda down there.
I gotta stick up for them over at Atlantic Policing or Atlantic Recycling, because he's offered to come over and help everybody, you know?
Would it be beneficial to have him there with us on the 23rd?
Well, he could tell you exactly what's gotta be done, yes.
So why don't we make that, have him there as well?
Okay, we can do that.
All players together in one location.
All right.
Mike with his popcorn machine.
Any other discussion on this Lucas and Clint in Atlantic?
Anything else? No?
As far as the grand opening ribbon cutting ceremony, to me, that should be put off because it's not gonna happen. And I hope
When
you
is that
haven't
scheduled for, the
spent
22nd?
thousands of dollars
I don't know
setting
why
this
it
up
was-
plan.
I don't know why it was scheduled for a Friday morning.
Well, the 22nd obviously is not gonna work, so let's just postpone this until further notice.
I think, well, when's the next transfer station committee meeting? Is it Monday night?
It's the last Monday of the
Last
month.
Monday.
So it's
28.
2 weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 2 weeks.
Right after Easter.
So somebody needs to get in touch with that committee. I guess
I mean,
Dennis
the
or,
25th, right? 25th,
and they want to do that on the 22nd.
yeah.
So they've got that happening before their next meeting, so somebody needs to get in touch with them.
I think they're all an email, just fire them an email saying that we're putting it off.
Pam, will our trustee secretary take care of that? Thank you.
Anything else from Clint? No? All right, thanks, guys.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, sure.
Is everybody satisfied with what I've done so far,
Mhm.
in your opinion? And now, the only other issue between you and me is the leftover concrete. So, according to my figures, I'm 11 yards to the good, so. Any discussion on it?
My concern from this point on is not sticking Lucas with cost.
Right.
You know, that is not to happen. I don't feel he has been a part of this, and
It's okay to get Clint for a little bit.
I think Clint should be nailed to the wall, right? And beside him is the engineering firm. But, okay, now, I guess what you're referencing to, the 11 yards to the good, so that is money that has been saved, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I think our agreement was, I can't remember what the agreement was, but something was that he would share in any cost that we came up with. So,
I have already submitted a bill to Nancy, and she was supposed to compare it to her records to make sure we were both on the same page, but.
She wasn't here today, so.
Yeah, well, that's like I said.
So I'd say touch base with her.
Yeah.
I don't know if she'll be back tomorrow.
Well, that's fine, I was just
So-
was kind of waiting to hear what the final to-do was.
I think some of it's gonna too, you know, we've gotta see, your job may not be done yet. It sounds like we've got some more work that, you know, may need to be done, but that won't have any impact on you.
Yeah, I think from his perspective, I had occasion to go down to the transfer station on a number of occasions and talk with him and talk with Clint, and I'm sure that other members of the board had stopped down there and done the same thing. And not only has Clint been impressed with the work that Mr. Beaubien has performed, but I had occasion to witness it firsthand when he was hand welding, rebar and, doing the cement. And I think that he did an absolutely fantastic job, and he did it right to the specs that it was given to the engineer, or the engineer gave him. So, if the engineer said it's got to be 5 inches, he had it 5 inches. Now, hindsight being 20/20, we know that those inches were off, but that's not his fault. He followed the design plans and, did an excellent job down there.
Thank you very much.
All right. All right, moving on. Hearing a delegation. We have Rep. Aaron Libby here, and I bet you have lots to tell us this week.
Thank you. Probably I'll start off, today we took a vote on LD 8, which is an act to increase the maximum distance from school within which a sex offender may not reside that may be set by municipal ordinance. This is a bill that Senator Courtney put in regards to past town ordinances ratcheting up to 2,500 feet from a school on the sex offenders list. This didn't mandate it at that. It just said that the state said that the towns can go up to that 2,500. It saw a lot of resistance to that, saying that it would bring a lot of undue consequences. And not that I necessarily disagree that that could be possibly, but it's the idea, it left it up to the town. And to me, from what you guys have always heard me talk about, is letting the towns decide, local control and communities and things like that. So I thought it was especially a good idea, besides the part that 90% of Waterboro residents voted for it in the past. So that was my vote anyways, but I thought it was, I didn't really agree 100% with the people that were against it, because the idea that it just lets it up to the town discretion. I think that towns can deal with undue consequences quicker and faster than the state can, because it's a small body. You can easily change things if need be. Unfortunately, that it got voted down in the House today, and it previously got voted down in the Senate, so subsequently the bill is dead. So unfortunately not good news on that, but I just wanted to bring that up due to, and Waterboro was talked about a lot as the reference point, so did get some talk about the town, so on that, not the best topic, but nonetheless, it was discussed and debated, and the committee, members of the committee did a very good discussion back and forth on the House floor on that, and unfortunately, it just wasn't, it was 93 to about 45 or so was the vote, so, in the House, and then 16 to 19 in the Senate side, so, on that. Today's paper is an article dealing with different gun restrictions and gun laws. I have a couple sentence quote on there, just talking about that briefly, that criminals don't obey laws anyways, and that gun laws, are only going to take away the guns from the people that already obey the laws. So I'm entitled to one of my bills, LD 1232, which says that doesn't remove the gun concealment process, unlike what the paper says. It keeps that all in state, right, it's still in statutes, doesn't change any of that, just the idea that you don't have to use it if you stay inside the state, following the Constitution, the Maine Constitution and the U.S. Constitution on gun rights, so just a little on that. And
Could you repeat that last thing again, because I didn't
Sure.
quite hear it?
The bill itself, or
No,
or
what it,
what it does,
what you're saying, you're still gonna have to get a permit to carry?
you don't have to get the permit. If you stay, the permit stays in process if you want to use it in another state. And you still go and get it, and it doesn't eliminate the process. It just says that if you don't have to get it if you don't want to. Maine Constitution, clearly states that you have the right to bear arms, and that'll never be questioned. And when you're looking at to get a concealed weapons permit, you're basically asking permission. I think that does violate the Constitution, the state Constitution, not to mention the U.S. Constitution. This was all heard in a public hearing yesterday on many different aspects of some of the laws I did agree with, and some of the bills I agreed with, and some of the bills I didn't. When you're talking about private property, so it was interesting hearings yesterday, to say the least. So, no work session hasn't happened. That'll happen on Friday on that. So, we'll see what the committee decides on that.
Yeah, I do. How does not having to get how does having to obtain a concealed weapons permit, how does that restrict the ability of someone to bear arms?
Well, there's first off the time period in between doing it and getting it and not having it, and it's basically asking permission. You're asking permission. It's kind of on the idea of proving your innocence, and my argument and many other people's arguments is that the criminals break laws. They're not the ones that are following these laws. It's the law-abiding citizens that are following these laws. So by having these, it's not going to, help anything. It doesn't make any more safer. The more that law-abiding citizens are able to arm themselves or protect themselves, the safer we are.
I think the concealed weapons permit does a number of things. One, it's a screening process to weed out those that have mental issues, those that are involved in domestic violence, those that are involved in some type of other criminal activity or have been in the past that prohibits them from having a weapon. I don't see that a concealed weapons permit prevents anyone from the right to bear arms, because anybody can carry a firearm. The concealed weapons permit just allows them to carry that weapon concealed on their person or loaded in a motor vehicle.
Right.
I think from a law enforcement perspective, you're opening the floodgates to an awful lot of problems. And as an analogy to that, one other aspect is before you can get a permit, there's an educational process that you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that ensures that there's at least some level of training on how to use that firearm. So you're not just willy-nilly handing somebody a gun when they have no experience with it whatsoever. Now we can take that analogy over to a motor vehicle, and we could say the same thing. They don't need a license to drive a car. Just let anybody drive. But we have rules in place that provide education for them so that they can learn how to drive. And
Well, the thing is, you don't need a permit to own a gun, you don't need a permit to purchase a gun.
No, you don't.
You can have that gun without asking permission, without getting any safety course or anything like that, and can have that gun sitting next to you while you drive down the road.
Unloaded.
So, unloaded, right? And when you think about it, you can open carry. The state of Maine has open carry.
Yep.
So you don't have to have a permit, you don't have to take a safety course to open carry walking down the street. Now, the difference is between the concealed permit and an open carry is having it on your hip and having a jacket over that. Once that jacket goes over, it's now concealed. So when you look at that, I mean, to me, that it doesn't make much sense. You
It does from a law
can have.
enforcement perspective, I
Well,
tell you,
I
you walk
think-
up to that car.
I think, the other aspect of it is if, the percentage of people walking around with open carry in an area down a street, or if it's concealed, I think people would have a different reaction if they started seeing, guns openly carried compared to concealed. I think it causes, a less distraction when it is concealed when compared to open carry.
I mean, the whole idea that bad guys are gonna carry weapons, that means you have bad guys and non-bad guys, black and white, or white and black. There's a whole bunch of gray out there. My concern is those people that might not have a felony, but might have some serious anger issues that act out and that have been have had problems with family abuse, and now you can pack a weapon and you can cover it up. You can go into your employment and
Well, that's the difference with private property, and that was one of the things that I actually talked about, because some of the gun laws said they wanted to make it mandatory that you can, allow it on, work and things like that, and I actually, took the other side on that, is, no, it just like all rights, it pertains to private property. The private property owner has the right to say whether they want guns on it or not.
I mean, the problem, though, is you don't have bad guys and good guys. You get a whole bunch of people in between, and some of those people in between now may be packing concealed weapons that they're not now, and now when they get into a situation, it's right there and available to them. And that's a concern to me.
But open carry, like I said, there's no permits on that. So that same person that you speak of, John, can walk down the streets open carry.
Well, you
So-
have a
But it's gonna be
carrier, you
under a
come
lot
in the
more
door here and you
scrutiny.
say, you gotta leave your gun out in the car, and if they're got it concealed, you don't know they have it.
No, see, they can walk down the street, open carry, with no permits, with no safety courses, with nothing, and that strange person, can do that. Now as soon as they put the jacket, that's the only difference, really, when you look at it. The only difference is now the jacket's on and it's underneath the jacket compared to open carry, because you don't need a permit to purchase
Oh,
it.
probably, if somebody's walking down the street with an open carry, somebody's gonna call.
You're gonna
Well,
They are, but it's not against the law.
Well.
No, but
But
you
that,
don't-
and that's my
Heads
point.
up.
That's my point, is if they're, because they're allowed to do it, but if they're allowed to have it concealed, then the person won't, that brings up the point that, if you had more people walking around openly, it makes more sense to have it concealed, because it's not gonna cause that phone
Well,
call.
it causes concern. I mean, my God,
And in
where the hell is
this-
your common sense here?
And in this day and age, with as many shootings as you see, school shootings and whatnot, I think that there's a heightened sense of awareness from the general public that if they see somebody that has a gun, likely the police are gonna get called fairly quickly, and there's a
Right.
standard operating procedure and how the
And-
police
and
officer
that
is
person-
going to approach.
And that person walking down the street with open carry is following the law. There's nothing,
So
that's
when-
already a
And
law.
so does the guy with a concealed weapon if it passes.
Right, if he has a permit, right.
Yeah.
These are,
But
I
he-
think you're educating, if you have the opportunity to educate people by making them get a concealed weapons permit, then you're educating people that are going to follow the rules of the law and go through the correct process. I think if you take away that, now you're gonna take an uneducated public and you're gonna put a weapon in their hand, so.
But
Now-
like I said, the open carry already allows that to happen, and that's what, I think when you look at that, I mean, it's people, the law-abiding citizen are the ones that are following that, whereas it's the criminals that aren't following that.
So when is the hearing going to be on this? Because hey, maybe some of us are going to want to take a ride up to Augusta. We'll
The
take
public
bus
hearing
and-
was yesterday on
It
that.
was yesterday. Is there going to be more, or was
No,
that the
that
end
was,
of it?
there was like 9 bills altogether on all different aspects, so.
Okay, has there been anything discussed about money to the municipalities?
Yes.
Let's hear it.
There's no definite number because they're still working through that. What I was told is that it looks like you should expect about the same, or if not a little bit more. But there's just no way they're still working through that, so it can go either way here and there. So I keep asking on a weekly basis. I keep talking to Senator Nass, who works in the Speaker's office, former senator. Just decide just to get some updates and things like that, and to try to keep up with it. But at this moment, it should be about the same, if not a little bit more. It'll be another month or so before we have actual details, because it's still working through everything. Same with the supplemental budget number 2. They were still taking amendments till 4 o'clock today, so I'll know more tomorrow, what the exact numbers, and then we'll vote on that depending on, see how that goes on. There's additional $38 million where that's going to come from, so they're still working on that.
I got a question. What's your position on, I think it's Senator Tuttle's, Representative Tuttle's LD regarding the registration of motor vehicles, that where it is right now is, let's say that your motor vehicle registration expires.
Mm-hmm.
And so you go in a month later, when you go into the town clerk, they charge you the fee from the time that it originally expired. And his bill is to have it start from that point. I think what we're doing is we're rewarding people for violating the law.
They keep pushing it back.
Yeah, they just keep pushing it back. I mean, it'd be 1 month, 2 months, 3 months that they're riding around on expired registration. I think the municipalities, the state itself, your insurance companies are gonna face a lot more issues if they get in an accident and it's unregistered. There's certainly gonna be a heightened liability there. The state and local governments are gonna be losing money.
I don't believe that's gone to public hearing yet. I don't believe.
No, but I was just trying to get a sort of a feel for where you are on this, when the public hearing does take place and when there's a vote on the floor, whether, you'd be yay or nay. But I wanted to hear, some, arguments on that.
I haven't seen too much reasons to be for it. I really haven't spoke with him directly on that bill, and haven't, once the public hearing, then you'll hear all this, different aspects, and it's kind of hard to, because, and also the bill can change too, so a lot of times, at least they'll say I'll wait to the public hearing, but at this moment, I don't see the positives in the bill. I don't see what we're going to save and what it costs to be, but I also don't know the reasoning behind it. I'll make it a point to ask Representative where he's coming from on that bill, and get back to you on that.
Anything else?
Did Governor Page have a good vacation?
I'm not sure. I haven't spoke with him.
You certainly got to like the AG's ruling that came down.
Which one?
The one that he was within his rights as the governor to have the mural removed.
I wish we could get on more important discussions throughout the whole thing.
Amen.
It's taken a lot of time on publicity and things like that. I think there's a lot more important things. Yeah, I would agree.
It's taken all life, that's for sure.
All right. All right.
All right.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate the debate.
All right. Any other hearing or delegation? Okay. And the correspondence this week is the final letter that went out to Mr. Woodsome. Reports. The town administrator, Nancy's not here. Hope she's feeling better. Selectmen's reports. Seeing none. Committee reports.
They all left.
They're gone. So.
An hour and a half ago, yeah.
Yep, we had the CEO report in the folder last week anyways, so. Next, under new business, discuss vote to sign waiver partial payment.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Any discussion?
What are we talking about here?
In our packets this week, there's a waiver
Payments,
form for
yeah.
partial payments for a lot that
Somebody's
total
paying-
total amount due is $6,487, and they want to
Oh,
set up a
okay,
payment
yeah,
plan of
yeah,
$50.
They're in arrears.
Yeah,
and-
I mean, there's one question there. The amount of payment does not keep up with the year. So if the person is putting away amount of money to pay for the current year, plus the amount pledged to pay that back, the back taxes, that's one thing. But if it's just for the, if it's just $50, that doesn't cover this year's tax. It's gonna be falling further and further
Yep.
behind. Because you're gonna need to put about, I guess, there's
This- no,
about,
John, this doesn't, the town does not speak to the level of commitment. In other words, we're not accepting this as, oh, if you pay this much, you're okay. This is their attempt to say, we're gonna start paying off the taxes. We don't have a voice in what that number is.
well, we have a voice to accept it or not.
Yeah, I
And
guess
if
you
you
could.
accept something that they're gonna go further and further in debt, then you're accepting something
Then
that
fine,
is
move
due
to-
for failure.
Move to
Well,
knock it down.
Having been in
The
financial,
bottom line is, everything goes to back taxes anyway.
Right.
It doesn't
They
matter.
can't pay, they cannot pay the
Yeah,
current
yeah,
year's
Yeah,
taxes.
no, everything
It
goes
has
to
to go to the first, the oldest tax.
I think I raised that question at the last meeting, on whether or not we were setting a fee that set them up for failure to begin with, and we all agreed that it seemed to be a reasonable amount. So
And I believe this is, we've seen this name already, and I'm looking back to see if I can find this from a few weeks ago, but I believe this is a drop in what they originally had requested to pay us.
In order to pay this year's taxes, you'd need a commitment of about $135 a month in order to keep up with this year's taxes. And that's without touching the last 3 or 4 years.
But they paid
John,
their
the
back
payments-
taxes
the pay-
first.
The first payment, any payment that comes in goes against 2008 taxes.
Until all their back taxes are paid off in full.
Okay, so
nothing
this
will
is
go
just for
towards-
back taxes.
Nothing
It's not an escrow for,
But
because,
nothing will go to the current taxes until all
Okay,
backwards are paid
okay.
off anyway.
and, hey, God bless them if they can make some payments.
They're making an effort, which is
Right.
more than some people do.
Right.
So there's a motion on the floor to accept it. It's been seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor? All right. Old business, discuss vote any changes to the transfer station project. I don't think we have any. We're going to meet down at the transfer station on the 23rd. Under other, I'd entertain a motion to sign warrants for bills and payroll.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Entertain a motion to sign the minutes of 4/5.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Pending decisions, we have the public service announcements, performance bonds, and the committee self-evals. Week's action list. Pam, you're going to let the transfer station committee know to postpone that indefinite. And discussion of agenda items.
I'd like to add something relative, we've talked about this many times, and a couple of years ago, we came up with a format for a quarterly report by department head. And so at least like to put something on the agenda that we discuss that and formally put that into a selectmen's policy that they have to, every department has to report to us on a quarterly basis of where they are.
That's every department or committee and everything else?
Anybody that has a budget, okay, that has, of any, I'm not gonna get down into a committee that's got $500 budget, we're not gonna get into a quarterly. So anyway, we had talked, we put something together a few years ago, this is a copy of that, I used Mike as an example, but what I'd like to do is the policy, selectmen's policy, Amy Jo, that was on the budgeting.
Yep.
this might fit into that, but I'm not sure where we keep selectmen's policy on the web.
I got a whole book.
So if anybody's got that
think I've got
electronically,
it.
I'd like to get a copy of that.
I'll
Maybe
check
we can
with
add
program
that.
for it.
If you
Okay.
don't, I can scan it and email it.
Okay.
Or I may have it on my computer.
I think it's time we need to, I think we've got a tentative date for town meeting, but we haven't taken a formal vote to set town meeting. So we'll take that formal vote. And I think now that we've had this special town meeting tonight, we have a very light agenda next week. So I think it'd be a good time to look at the budget overall and see if we need to start considering moving any funds around. And if there's any departments where we need to stop any spending so that we can move it around, we need to do that. So take a look at the budget.
We're gonna have a more updated audit thing from the auditors by then, or?
I don't know.
I think,
Have to check
I
with
think we should, there was some going back and forth, last week, but I was under the impression that, Chris Beck was out here that next day, so I thought that they were pretty well had gone through what Nancy had presented to them and whatnot, so.
Well, it'd be nice if we could get them in.
Yeah.
Pending, let's see, items needing signature, warrants for bills and payroll, the minutes of 4/5, reminders, tomorrow evening, 6 PM, the road review committee is meeting at Town Hall. Thursday, April 14th, 6:30 PM, the Old Home Days Committee is meeting at the Town Hall. Also on the 14th, the Finance Committee is meeting at 7 PM. Monday, April 18th, the Water District is meeting at 6 PM at the Town Hall. At 6:30 PM here at the Town Hall Annex on Monday will be the 12-town group. Monday, April 18th, 7 PM, the Charter Commission is meeting at the Town Hall. Tuesday, April 19th, 6 PM, Selectmen's meeting here at the Annex, and reporting will be the Planning Board, ZBA, and the Town Planner. And then a reminder, if you didn't see the email that we received from the Secretary for the Planning Department, we have a workshop with the Planning Board, Board of Selectmen, and the 2020 Comprehensive Plan Committee at 7 PM on the 20th to discuss the zoning of Route 5.
Tammy, the road review committee is meeting tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, and I think there's only 2 members that's been there. And I think if anybody on the board here could make it tomorrow night, might be a good moral support for the effort that they've done, and it's hard to operate with what's there,
Yep. I think Jim Gendron and Roger Maycumber have been the two that have been attending. I understand John Tufts was really under the weather for quite a while, but he's up and mobile again, so hopefully we'll start seeing John participating again. I understand that one member has opted not to participate anymore, although we haven't seen a resignation from him, and another member does not drive in the winter months, so I think that's the issue with some of that. So with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Okay.